All right, I want to welcome everybody to our week 3 live session for DES 305 Web Portfolio Design. I am Shannon McNamara, your graphic arts instructor, and we're going to have a critique tonight. So I'll go over this a little bit more when we get closer to doing it, but my thought process for tonight's live session is I wanted to show everyone's website, and if you had submitted your work by this morning, I believe I have it, or by yesterday. So if you don't happen to see yours, I will probably be able to add it to the critique tomorrow. And I'll get to anybody that I don't get to tonight. I will get to tomorrow, because what I want to do is I'm not going to need names on whose site is whose, but you can watch for your site, and I'll try to see if I can help troubleshoot some of the things that might have been going wrong, just so that way you can see what those errors were and how to fix them. And yeah, so that was my thought process for tonight. But we'll just hop right into our slideshow. So our agenda for this evening, I'm going to go over my announcements. We're going to talk a little bit about interactive design. Again, we're going to do that critique and go over some issues that students were having some trouble with. A reminder on due dates: all assignments and assessments are due by Saturday at midnight for full credit. I will accept late work. However, there will be a 20% deduction on your grade. Week 4 assignments cannot be turned in late, and your original discussion post is due by Wednesday at midnight, and you need to respond to at least 2 of your fellow students' discussion posts by Saturday, and late discussion posts will not be accepted past the Saturday deadline for the week. All right, so let's hop into the course, because there's a lot going on this week. So I want to go over to our announcements first. And you may have noticed that I posted a time management schedule for this week. It's because there is so much going on. I thought that it would make it a little bit help. You know, I'm good with time managing myself if I have a list to go off of. I'm a big fan of the Reminders app on my cell phone, which is linked to my computer, which is linked to my watch. And I live and die by that thing. So I always make up checklists and check things off when they're done. So I knew that this was a big week for everybody. There's a lot of work involved in this week. So I wrote up a little schedule that I thought would help you guys to kind of manage your time this week to get everything done. So my thought process behind this was Monday, if you could work and post your original discussion post for the week, get that out of the way. And then Tuesday, write up or modify your doc file for your site, and then create the Photoshop and Illustrator mock-up. And then on Wednesday, start your site in Muse. Thursday, work on the site, and then answer one student's post, respond to one of your fellow students in the discussion. Friday, publish your site, send it to your friends, post it on Facebook, get some feedback on your site, and then answer your second student's post in discussion. And then that leaves you with Saturday to just fix any errors that you might have, re-upload, and then have a nice dinner and relax because you're done. So you might want to think of possibly following along with a similar schedule for this week. It doesn't need to be obviously this exact schedule, but those were my thoughts behind putting this together. Now, our other announcement is Chrissy's Learning Coach flyer for this week. She has hours available Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. All of her hours start at noon Mountain Time. Wednesday is 12 to 7 p.m., Thursday is 12 to 5 p.m., and Friday is 12 to 4 p.m. So she has some good hours this week. If you need any help, she will be available in the Student Success Center. I think that was my last announcement. All right, so let's take a look at the discussion, the assignment, and the assessment for this week. You may remember in week 1, I asked everybody to take my poll, which was on Muse, and whether or not you have taken Muse. And the reason why I asked that is it has to do with our assignment for this week, because our assignment for this week goes back to the original Muse assignment that you did in your first Muse course. So I kind of had to, last time I taught this course, it was a handful of people took the course and learned Muse, and another handful took the old version of the course and learned Dreamweaver. So I kind of had to modify the assignment for people. And I haven't had anybody state that they did not take Muse yet. So I'm 99% sure that everyone has taken DES 241 with Muse at this point. But we'll get to that on the next page. All right, so let's discuss our discussion for this week, web design genres and layouts. So to help you design the interface for your web page portfolio, we will discuss in this week's discussion topic the different types of web design genres and layout concepts that are commonly used in website portfolios. As you research the strengths and weaknesses of different web design genres and layouts, you will also decide which ones to use for your portfolio and explain why. So for your prompt in this week's discussion, you will research 2 different types of web design portfolio genres and layout concepts. It is important you research genres and layout concepts only for web design portfolios and not for website designs in general. So it needs to be a portfolio website. I believe you did have me possibly for 241. I recognized your name, and I think I might have had you twice, and that might have been one of the classes. You will also discuss the strengths and weaknesses of each web genre and layout concept, and then share with the class the web genre and layout concept that you will design for your portfolio. So for your citation, you might use articles that show examples of web genres and layouts. You can also find articles from experts that suggest how to implement the web genre and layout in a portfolio. In your response post, add 1 additional strength and weakness to one of the web design genres or layout concepts your fellow classmates selected, and explain why you are using the same web design genre or layout concept. If you are using a different web design genre or layout concept, also explain why. Your initial and reply post should work to develop a group understanding of this topic, challenge each other, build on each other, and always be respectful, but discuss this and figure it out together. So if you aren't sure what a web genre is, you're going to need to do some research on that. Think back to literature genres. There's fiction, there's nonfiction, there's fairy tales, there's fables, there's essays, there's novels, novellas, myths, missing a couple, short stories. It's the same thing for web portfolios. There's different types of web portfolios. So make sure you research what kind of web portfolio genres are out there and find some examples. And again, it has to be a portfolio. It can't be a website. All right, so this is where I was talking about how the week 3 assignment can get a little bit confusing, and that's why I did that poll. All right. So everybody in this course, based on, I have such a hard time saying the word genre. I can say it about twice, and then after that, it starts to fall apart in my mouth on its way out. So everybody in this course answered that they had taken a Muse course before. And the reason I asked that question has to do with our week 3 assignment and the different prompts in the assignment. So over the next 2 weeks, you're going to be redesigning your portfolio that you created in DES 241. So you're going to implement several advanced Muse interactivity and animation tools, such as those sliders, the light boxes, custom form designs, third-party plugins, and panels. In addition, you will make your website responsive and then upload it to a web host server, aka click the publish button. So for this prompt, you should be in prompt 2 based on the answers I saw in the poll I asked everybody to take. So for this assignment, you will be redesigning the interface for your portfolio that you created in DES 241. So you're going to need to go back through your files and find the Muse file for DES 241. There will be a minimum of 4 pages in your website portfolio: a home page, an about page, a portfolio page, and a contact page. You will be using Photoshop or Illustrator to create the mock-up. Now, there's something I want to say about the mock-up. Your mock-ups should match your site when it's done. The purpose of the mock-up is to show a client this is what your website is going to look like when it's done. So if your mock-up, I'm your client, so if your mock-up doesn't at all match your website, you're not fulfilling the assignment. So make sure that when you are creating these mock-ups, that you are aware of your own capabilities in Muse. Don't create something that you can't build at the end. So just really keep that in mind. You are going to need to use Microsoft Word to explain the changes that you would like to create to your website portfolio. I'm not even reading that in the chat. Use Word to explain the changes that you would like to create in your website portfolio that you created in DES 241. If you have not taken this course, you will need to discuss the 4 changes or additions that you will add to your current portfolio website. Explain why you will or won't change the following. There needs to be at least 4 changes to your user interface. Changes to the design style, changes to the layout concept, color changes, portfolio graphic changes, additional Muse features that you would like to add, at least 2 that you have learned about in weeks 1 and 2, a plugin you will select in Muse, and each explanation should be at least 50 words, a total of 200 words, and you're going to name your Word file DES 305, assignment 3, your first and last name. Make sure that you are setting up your Word file professionally. Do not just type out something that doesn't even have your name on it and submit that. You will lose points. Use a template. If you go into Word, there are tons of templates. There is one called Proposals, which has a lot of great layouts. I personally seem to like this Keystone proposal. So I'm going to show you. So what you would do is, put Independence University, your name, and then your site should have a graphic, it should have a logo that you've created. So I would put that logo here, and then write up your concept, like changes to homepage, changes to about page, or, I am going to change the design style, change the layout concept, change the color, and then 50 words about what your changes will be in each section. So it should be 4 separate paragraphs of 50 words each, at least 200 words, and I will run it through a word counter. All right, so that's my little spiel on using Word properly and putting together a nice presentation. All right, part 2 is mocking up your website. So you can use Photoshop or Illustrator to redesign that layout. So what you might want to do is possibly take some screenshots of your Muse portfolio, and you can kind of move things around in Photoshop by doing that, and really clean it up. It should look professional when it's done, but that can give you an idea of how you want to change around your layout. That might be easy, and then you'll have a screenshot of the navigation, things like that. So consider using a different color scheme. Adobe Color is a great place to create and find color schemes, and the URL is, again, color.adobe.com. And if you save, I can't remember if I went over this. Yes, I do want to sign in because that's what I was getting at. All right, there we go. If you create a theme, make sure that you are logged in with the same username as your Creative Suite. So that way it will sync your color schemes to Illustrator or sync them to Photoshop or Muse or what have you. You want to make sure you're using the same colors that you've created in Adobe Color. The reason why I tell you to double check that is I personally have 2 different Adobe logins. I always say this in every single class when Adobe Color comes up. And one time I was not logged in as the same username that I have my Creative Suite set up as, and I could not, and I even had the same profile picture. Like, talk about really messing yourself up. But I could not figure out for the life of me why my color schemes were not showing up in InDesign, and I must have saved them at least 15 times before I realized I was logged into the other username. And when I finally logged in under the correct one, they all populated into InDesign, and I had like 15 of them that I had to delete because I was like, save, what is going on here? So don't be like me. Make sure you're logged in correctly. Consider choosing, all right, yes, number 3, include your professional logo. That was the logo that you should have created, I believe, in DES 241. If you do not have that logo, you will need to create a professional logo for yourself for your portfolio. Consider using your initials, something along those lines. Create or locate social media icons. You will need to use at least 2 social media icons. This I want to bring up. If you choose to not use the widgets in Muse, what you need to do is when you are looking for social media icons, you want to make sure that you are using Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, their brand assets. So you'll do a search for Facebook brand assets, and it tells you the proper way. It's right here. It's the first one that comes up. They have their logos and badges, the F logo, the like button, the thumb icon, Facebook Live, find us on Facebook. I am not even sure what these 2 are. So you would select whichever one that you want. You need to use it exactly as it is. You cannot change the color. You cannot change the white. There's a lot of guidelines, and they give you all of the do's and don'ts for their logo. See? Not to put it on a blue background. There's so many different things. And the reason why is their graphic designers spent all that time coming up with these logos, and their marketing team came up with these logos, and they put them online free for you to use, but you need to use them properly. So you'll click I have read and accepted the guidelines, and you will choose online, and then you will download them. You can do the same thing for Twitter. Again, first one that comes up. And they have their guidelines, the logos, the social icons, how to use them, even, where to set things. If you are going to use your @username, they tell you what font to use. So they're really specific, as they should be, again. So make sure you're reading everything over. Also, you want to use Pinterest. Oops. Theirs can sometimes, they made their site a little bit better. A couple of times ago when I tried to go down and download it, it was a mess. So they even give you what color the red swatch is, and they also give you the badge. There is Instagram, which is owned by Facebook, so they're set up the same way as Facebook. So they have the glyph icons, boomerang layout, and hyperlapse. You can choose any of those. And there's specifics to when you need to use the black and white version and when you need to use the color version. Snapchat. Brand guidelines. Ghost logo tells you how much space to put in around it. They have a full color monochrome and a monochrome with white. So you can read this and download it. There's the download button over here. So again, just make sure you're reading things over before you download those logos. Don't just pick any Facebook logo that you find on, Google Images, basically. You will be graded on following directions: originality, creativity, usability, and uniqueness to your style and layout. You're going to export your design into a multi-page PDF of the design of your homepage, about, portfolio, and contact page. Name your multi-page PDF DES 305, Assignment 3, Part 2, and then your first and last name. If you are unsure how to create a multi-page PDF, I will show you very quickly in Photoshop. Cancel. All right, so web. I would probably do web medium for size, which is 1440 by 900. And you want artboards. 22 RGB white. Okay. So where it says artboard 1, my layers. Rename that home. Oh. Come on. There we go. About, what was it? Home, about, portfolio, and there we go, contact. And contact. All right, so you have your 4 pages set up. You can zoom in, well, your 4 artboards actually. You can zoom in and work on each artboard, and then you can do a file, I believe it's export artboards to PDF. And you want multi-page PDF document, and then select your destination, and you're gonna hit run. So let me double check that for you. I'll just put something on each page. There we go. I can't spell and talk at the same time. I'll end up spelling what I'm saying and contact. All right. So we'll test this. File, export, artboards to PDF, browse, go to my Mod 10 folder, and name this artboards, include multi-page, and run. And oh, this always happens. It's going to be backwards. I don't know why it does this. I feel like I figured it out once before. Hold on. Export artboards PDF. Include But you can fix that. You can fix it in Illustrator very quickly. So if you go to Edit PDF or Edit Pages, Organize Pages, that's what it is. So if you go to Organize Pages, you can just drag them into the order that they should be: about, home, about, portfolio, contact. There you go. All right. And then just hit save. So that's how you create your 4-page PDF in Adobe Photoshop. Don't need to save that. And jump back in. All right. So those are basically the 2 things that you need to do for your assignment, but obviously that's a lot to do just for the assignment. Next, we have the assessment, which is designing that site that you just mocked up in Muse. So after you have after designing the revised portfolio mockup in Photoshop or Illustrator, it's time to make these changes in your Muse site. So for this assessment, you will revise your Muse portfolio or create one if you do not have your Muse files from DES 241. So if you did not keep your files from DES 241, you have to start over. You have to write me up a concept for your portfolio. You need to create a mockup for that portfolio, and you need to create that portfolio. So you will complete the following: revise the interface design based on your Photoshop or Illustrator mockup design, create or revise your menu to make it interactive, include effects for normal, rollover, mouse down, and active for your navigation, create links between your pages, import your logo and hyperlink it to return to the home page, import the social media icons. Yes, you can. That's a great point. You can pull up the class. You can pull up your DES 241 class in Canvas and find your final assignment there and download it. That is true. And then import your logo and hyperlink it to the homepage, and then import those social media icons and hyperlink them to your social media accounts. You know, you can even use LinkedIn is a great one. I didn't pull them up. Hold on. LinkedIn brand assets. Because you should, at this point, have a LinkedIn page. Oh, whoops. Back. It's this one, LinkedIn brand guidelines. It's not the first one that comes up. That's an ad. So you can download their brand package and again, read over how to use it before you do. So does anybody have questions on the assignment and the assessment before I jump back into the slideshow? I just have one no. All right. So again, a lot of work this week. So that's why I want to make sure that everybody is aware of what's going on for this week. All right, so let's talk about interactive design. I'll go full screen for this. So what is interactive design? It is the process in which designers focus on creating engaging web interfaces with logical and thought out behaviors and actions. So, you know, think about that, what something means to be logical and thought out behaviors and actions. That means that when we get on a web page, we kind of know that there's going to be a menu and navigation on our web page, that there's going to be a way that we can get back, you know, out of where we are. You know, there's set criteria that happens on every single web page. You know, if I go to a contact page, I assume that I will find either your phone number, your website, or your email address, your address, something that tells me where you are located or a way that I can contact you. Exactly. We have expectations. Successful interactive design uses technology and principles of good communication to create desired user experiences. So if we went to a contact page and there was no phone number, no address, and no form to fill out, you would pretty much be like, well, what am I doing there? What if there was just, a picture, it's Bob's tree service, and on the contact page, there's just a picture of Bob. You would say, well, that's great, Bob, but I don't know how to call you to have this tree taken down. So we would have an expectation that we would be able to find out how to contact Bob if we went to his contact page on his website. And then we'd say, Bob, you definitely need a new web designer. This is something I do. Maybe you take down my tree and I redesign your website. Exactly. Don't be like Bob. I know, I have seen that more often than I should as well. I've also seen, and this really was a tree guy, he had his phone number set up as a tappable link on his mobile site, which is great. Like when the page responded down to my cell phone, I noticed if I tapped on his phone number in the website, it opened up in my phone app to call it. But I also noticed, number one, it was not the same phone number that was showing on the website. And when I thought, well, maybe it redirects him, to his cell phone and he didn't want to put his cell phone on there. No, it went to a number that didn't work. So there was seriously, so you got to make sure that your, the websites you're creating have a desired user experience. If I tap on your phone number to call you, it should call you. Yes, that's true as well. I'm going to read that loud. So in the chat it says, searching for portfolio sites, it's rather depressing how many portfolio sites are like that where there is not contact information. How am I going to hire you? I've seen your work. I think you're great, but there's no way to contact you from your contact us page. It really is sad that they're not getting the most out of their site. So these are the things to think about when you're putting this portfolio site together. Is your site giving your user the desired experience that they are expecting when they go to your site? So the first part of interactive design is usability. And that's kind of a vague term, but at its heart, designers are really just asking, can somebody use this easily? When somebody gets to your website, can they figure it out and use it easily? Because guess what? When you post a link to your portfolio and you put it out there, or you put it on a resume that you sent out to a client or a potential employer, you aren't going to be in the room when they click on that link to go, oh, you know what? I did this a little bit differently than other people. So what you need to do is click here, here, and then here. You're not going to be there to tell them that. So your website needs to be easy to use. It needs to be easy to understand. Usability can be broken down into 7 principles: learnability, flexibility, robustness, efficiency, memorability, errors, and satisfaction. So learnability is how easy can a new user learn to navigate the interface. And that should be, these days, within seconds. I shouldn't have to think about how I get around your site. Flexibility, how many ways can a user interact with the system? So think about why we make websites responsive. If our website responds correctly, then there's basically endless ways that the user can interact with the system. They can check out our website on their laptop, on their desktop. They can check it out on their cell phone. They can check it out on their tablet. There's tons of flexibility to the design. Robustness, how well are we supporting users when they face an error? So if they run across an error in the website, let's say that they're trying to get in touch with you and they're trying to fill out your form, but there's something going on with the server that day, and the form won't go through. Is your email, your phone number, is there another way on that page for them to say, oh, all right, you know what, he lists his email right here, I'll just contact him that way? So how well are we supporting a user if they run into an error? Because if that form doesn't go through and you don't give your email address or your phone number, You're going to lose a potential client. You might not even know that the form's not working. At least then when they send you an email, they can say, hey, I was trying to fill out your form and it seems like there's an error with the form, and you can go back in and check. Efficiency, how quickly can users perform tasks? So how quickly are your slideshows loading? How quickly can somebody navigate throughout your site? How quickly can somebody find what it is that they are looking for? You know, there's people, think about the last time that you were on the web looking for something. What is your attention span these days? I mean, seriously, most of us have the attention span of a tadpole when we are, you know, on the web these days. We just are like, oh, something shiny over here, and we completely forget what we were doing. And we walk around with our, you know, with our phones attached to our hips or attached to our hands, our thumbs. So if something doesn't work, we don't try to figure it out anymore. We just move on. And it, you know, it is what it is. So, you know, how quickly can a user perform their task on your site and just kind of move on with their lives? Memorability. If a user hasn't visited the system in a while, how well will they remember the interface? So if your interface makes sense, you shouldn't have to worry that a user will remember how to use it. Errors. How many errors do users make and how quickly can they recover from those errors? So if they are filling out your form, this kind of goes back to filling in the phone number in the form. Remember how I was saying how there was a form that I had to fill out that literally wanted me to put my phone number as bracket 508 bracket space 555-1212. And if I did 508 555-1212, that didn't work. What's 1 2 8 5s? If I did 508 555-1212, that didn't work. This was the only way that the form would accept my phone number, and it just kept giving me errors over and over and over again. So it was really frustrating for me, and it wasn't quick for me to recover from those errors because it didn't tell me how it wanted my phone number input. Finally, I just went through all of the options until it finally took it. And some people may not have that type of patience. And then satisfaction. Do users enjoy using the interface, and are they pleased with the results? So you'll know if somebody is, because I've had people check out my portfolio website in the past and they're like, hey, you know what? Your site was really cool, you know, and I really like your stuff, by the way. And them just telling me that my site was cool, I can tell that they had, you know, a high level of satisfaction from using my site. They enjoyed it. They enjoyed the interface. They were pleased with the results, which was finding what they were looking for in an easy way. So I knew that that site was working for me. All right, so then there's this book of interviews. It's Bill Mogridge's book, and it's called Designing Interactions. And it's basically about interaction design, and it has 4 concepts or 4 dimensions of an interaction design language. And you'll notice that my headline says the 5 dimensions. Later on, Kevin Silver, who is a senior interaction designer, he added a 5th dimension, but the original 4 dimensions of interaction were words, visual representations, physical objects or space, and time. And then that new 5th dimension is behavior. So these are the different dimensions that interaction design language should, you know, that the user should be involved. So these dimensions make up the interactions themselves, and as a result, they make up the communication between a user and the screen. So the user is obviously looking at your words, they're looking at the visual representation, the physical objects or space where things are located on the page, and the amount of time that they stayed there. But they're also, you know, there's a certain behavior that they may have when they are on your page. So they kind of have all of these different things, all of these different feelings going on when they're on your site. And the next time you go to a website, or when you're trying to find some good examples of portfolios and portfolio genres, Think about these different dimensions when you're on these sites. You know, think about the words that you saw, the visual representation, the physical objects, or the space between the elements, the amount of time you spent on there, and then your behavior when you were on the site. So that first dimension, words should be simple to understand and written in such a way that they communicate information easily to the end user. And then, so don't be too wordy, basically. I hate to say it, but don't write paragraphs and paragraphs of text. You know why? Nobody's going to read it. When's the last time you sat on a website that was not meant for you to read paragraphs and paragraphs of text, like a news site, and you read everything that was there? You probably skimmed. I mean, half the time I go on BuzzFeed to read an article, and I read 95% of the article, and then I literally just skim the last 3 paragraphs and go down to the comments to see what ridiculous things people have posted. But, you know, I mean, a lot of times when we're online, we just don't have the attention span to spend reading all that stuff. Use bullet points, use headlines, use subheadlines. You know, don't be so wordy in your portfolio sites. There are sites that definitely should be wordy, you know, a blog, obviously, news sites, articles, anything of that nature. But for your portfolio site, you really want to communicate via your work and in the least amount of words possible. Honestly, you want your work to really, you know, stand for itself. The second dimension is visual representation. So are all graphics or images, and that represents all graphics or images, and essentially everything that is not text. They should be used in moderation, so not to overwhelm. However, we are creating a portfolio site, so it should stand out. You know, I shouldn't have to squint to see your work. Think of how big your thumbnail should be. Think of how big your images should be. These are all things to keep in mind when you're putting this together. The third dimension, physical objects or space, refers to the physical hardware, whether it's a mouse or a keyboard or a mobile device a user is interacting with. So that means, you know, how are they using your site? How are they looking at your site? Are they on a laptop? Does it work a certain way on a laptop where it works differently on a cell phone? So these are all things to think about when you are creating that. And send your link to your cell phone to double check it. When I was creating my website, I had to, every single time that I did changes, I had to double check, you know, on the desktop version, I had to double check the iPad version, et cetera, you know, to make sure that it was working the way that it was supposed to. Fourth dimension, time is the length that users interact with the first 3 dimensions. So the amount of time that they interact with your words, the visual representation, and, you know, whatever device it is that they are on. It includes the ways in which the user might measure progress, as well as sound and animation. And then that 5th dimension, behavior, was added by Kevin Silver in his article, What Puts the Design in Interaction Design? It is the emotions and reactions that the user has when interacting with the system. So using these 5 dimensions, an interaction designer can pay attention to the very experience the user has when communicating and connecting with the system. So just to kind of show you an example, I'll show you my website. And I'll turn on my camera for a second too, and I'll show you it on my phone. So this is how my website loads when it is the desktop version. I just have one headline, everything is designed, few things are designed well, by Brian Reed at the top. Just so that way you know, all right, we're graphic design, we designed, you know, different stuff, and we hope that we design it well. And then you scroll down and you can see that we have digital illustrations, print, video, and 3D. And then there's some tabs where you can get to different types of things, some 3D work, some illustration work, some print work, you know, just in these 6 images. Then up here, there is an actual portfolio link to bring you to all of the work. And I'll show you how I have that set up if it ever loads. Oh, whoops. So the video page, I have the different videos set up here, which are just linked from YouTube. I have a 3D models page, which is set up as a slideshow. So you can see the different 3D models. Then there is an illustration page, which has the same exact setup, all work that was done in Illustrator. Then print work, which are some design projects. And then I have a link because my husband and I both shared the site. So then I have a link that is just my stuff. When I'm sending out things for myself, I send just my link. And it's set up a little bit differently. So I have, which is something that you might do. So I have some of my graphic design work, a slideshow. I have some of my Photoshop work. I have some of my digital photography, you know, just set up in different sections. So then we have an About Us, and you can see not a lot of verbiage on each of the pages. You know, what can we do for you? Here's some of the things that we do. And then the contact page, you know, our Facebook, Twitter, email, where we're located, and then a form to fill out. So very, you know, very simple. And the logo hyperlinks you back to the homepage. So I had to look, let me just turn on this real quick. All right, so I had to look when I was designing my site. I had to keep pulling it up on my cell phone, and I don't know if you can see it very well. Let me try to do this. There we go. But, you know, it's set up a little bit differently, and all you're probably seeing is a glare. Where it goes down to one column. So I specifically wanted it to go down to one column so that way it wasn't, you know, all squished in on my cell phone. So I had to kind of, as I was doing the design, go back and forth and make sure like it's, you know, it's showing up correctly. So these are some of the things that you are going to have to do when you are putting together your portfolio site. And then, you know, change your page. You'll notice when I flip my cell phone to the side, it goes to a 2 column. It's a different breakpoint. So, you know, kind of interact with your own cell phone, your own tablet, and see how it is that your site works or looks when you are, you know, dropping it down into those breakpoints, and try to flip the phone, try to look at it in your tablet, flip your tablet from portfolio to landscape. And another thing, post your site on, you know, text it to some friends and say, hey, can you look at this? Try to break my site. I always say that to people. Let me just turn off my video. Try to break my site. You know, find something that is not working and let me know. You know, just kind of play around with my site for a couple of days and let me know if you run into anything that's just a little bit weird, that doesn't seem like it's working correctly. So that way I know how to fix it and I know how to make it work correctly before I submit it. So I would always post things to my Facebook page and I would say, hey, does anybody mind checking out my link and just making sure everything's working correctly before I post this? You know, I would have like a testing URL or something. And a lot of people love to do stuff like that, especially if, you know, it's 4:30 on a Tuesday and, you know, they're right, they mentally checked out of work. They're like, hey, I'll do that. So, you know, it's good to have another set of eyes looking over your stuff. Exactly, especially your critical friends. All right, say, I know what I would do. I would send it to my mom. I'm like, Mom, can you look this over? And she'd be like, you're missing a comma. I'd be like, thanks. Thank you for catching my missing comma. I wanted to make sure all my links worked. But, you know, hey, she catches everything. All right. So do I have another slide? I don't recall. All right, no, that was the last one. So, all right, so let's get into Muse. So what I'm going to do in Muse is I'm going to first load the URL, and then we'll take a look at the file in Muse. I think that that'll probably be the easiest way to kind of do this. I'm going to close this out. I don't think we need to save that. And hopefully I have these in the correct order. So that way, and Oh no. You know what else you guys can do this week? Use the chat. Not the chat. Use the discussion post this week. After you have done your first initial post, if somebody actually, I'll try to remember to do this. I can do it right now while I'm thinking about it. I will post in the chat or in the discussion. All right, let's see. Post your portfolio URL here to get a critique. All right. Please reply to this discussion with your week 3 assessment URL link, and your fellow students can take a look and let you know what needs fixing. To this discussion post. There we go. So if everybody wants to reply, just hit the reply button to this post. That way you guys can kind of take a look and reply to each other. Just make sure that you're posting the person's name, like, hey, Jenny, I took a look at your URL and everything looks great, but you know, you might want to fix something on this breakpoint. It got a little bit weird at 800 pixels or something like that. That'll be super helpful. So, you know, you can post your URLs right here just by hitting reply, and then everybody can kind of get some help and help each other. All right. So, did I ever copy and paste that? All right, copy and paste. Here is the first site. Now, again, I don't have names. I took everybody's names out on purpose, so it's kind of a blind critique. Before we get started, I want to go over the sandwich method of critiquing. I don't know if anybody is familiar with that method, but okay, great. So the two of you, if you want to turn on your microphones and chat, we can just talk, that's fine. Or if you guys want to type in the chat, it's really up to you, whichever you're most comfortable with. So for everybody at home who's not aware, what the sandwich method is you start off with something positive, you know, like, hey, I really like the layout of your navigation and where the images are located on your screen. I think that that works well. Then you say, you know, I think that X, Y, and Z, maybe that could be changed a little bit to work better, but you know, I do think that you made some good font choices, so I wouldn't change that. You know, you want to start off with something positive, kind of get to the meat of your critique, and you know what you think can be fixed in the middle, and then end on something positive. So you're making a critique sandwich, basically, with all of the good stuff on the inside. And you know, definitely constructive criticism, you know, I don't like it doesn't help anybody. I always say that. You know, it's okay if you don't like something. You just want to explain what it is about it that you're not happy with. Okay, no problem. Have fun. That sounds like fun. So yeah, it's not helpful to just say I don't like this, because at the end of the day, as a designer, we say to ourselves, okay, but that doesn't help me to make it better. So what should I do to make you like it? And you know, there isn't always going to be an exact answer, but you know, you want to give somebody at least somewhat of an idea. So here is the homepage for this one. We have a slideshow that pops up. I always like this slideshow that comes up, you know, above the whole site. I always like the look of that. I think it's a good look. So we can click off. We have some a Twitter follow and a Facebook like right here. Then we have a degrees page, which when we click on, I can see the associate's degrees. Oh, that gets a little bit weird though. When I hover, it does go to white, so that's something that you're probably going to want to take a look at. Maybe changing this background color if you're going to always have the hover go to white. We have all the graphic arts, and then if we click on bachelor's, we have the bachelor's graphic arts. Then we have a form down here, so I'm going to fill out this form and see what happens. Interested in a bachelor's degree. Yes, it is. It's very neat and tidy. And you know, I like neat and tidy design too. I am critiquing your site and wanted to say hello and submit. And it brings me back to the home page just as it should. All right, so I like the neat layout, the neat and clean layout. I definitely do. Let's go back to the degrees page. I'm pretty happy with the home page. Were you talking about this gray text? Or down here?
Yeah, the gray text at the top. I can talk as long as my dog's not barking.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, I feel as though the gray can work, but the page itself then is really, it's kind of getting washed out, you know, because everything else is kind of lacking some color. So I might put, you know, maybe a color behind here or maybe a color in the background. I think it is kind of getting lost. I might actually make these a little bit wider, the panels, but this does work. It's just, it's kind of, in a desktop, I might expect a 2-column layout here as opposed to the 1 column. So maybe moving this to the left and moving the form up next to it, just because that's what I'm used to seeing. I don't know if that's just me.
No, I kind of feel the same way, but maybe that's just kind of what we were used to too. But
yeah, and that goes back to what we were talking about, like, you know, our expectations on a page. And then it's the same for this one. Let's see what happens when we start to close up this page.
It would make it easier for when you had to do your breakpoints.
Oh, that's already 1 column.
Woohoo!
Yeah, exactly. That is true. All right, so this is where, and there was a lot of this week that I noticed. People weren't pinning things this week. And, oh, we can tell we hit the breakpoint right there. Which right before we kind of get to the 768, you can see that this is getting really skinny down here and things are starting to kind of run into each other. So you want to be aware of kind of what's happening right before. Then we have the mobile menu, which works perfectly. Oh, and I do have a fix if that menu was not working properly for you. I figured it out after we finished, and I forgot to make an extra video for you guys. If you put the mobile menu on its own layer, and then put that layer above all of the other layers in Muse, kind of like how you use layers in InDesign and Photoshop, that should bump that menu above items if it happened to be running below items on your screen. So that's a little bit of a fix. And this probably isn't going to go down to the 360, which is a new thing. I feel, and I was actually talking about this with Dallas before he had to leave, before we started the recording. It used to go down to the 360 breakpoint and show you it in the browser, and this is like a new thing where it's not doing that. And I don't know if it's like new in the browsers or if it's something with Muse, but he had noticed it too. So I thought it was just me. All right, so let's take a look at this file. All right, we're off to a good start. They match. Tried to put everything in order today. All right, so let's take a look at this page and those breakpoints. So right before this breakpoint, this is starting to collapse upon itself, which you have a lot of width in this page. So if you want to make this content area larger, that is probably going to help, because you'll notice it's responding to the width, so it's getting smaller as the page gets smaller, whether or not it runs into the page or not, if that makes any sense, whether or not it runs into the element or not. And then the same thing with the text frame on the inside. Select the text and make it wider. Just kind of, there we go. You can even make the image a little bit bigger. You do have a lot of room on this page.
Because for smaller devices, I would think that you would want to expand your text box.
Yes, yes. And so let's see what happens if we start to close it up here. So I feel like we'll probably make it to that break point. See, we make it to that break point without it completely falling apart that way. And I'm sure the same thing can be done for the bachelors. So again, you would need to go in and fix the bachelors accordingly. The other thing that we were discussing was moving this up, but if you want to leave your form down here, that is fine as well. I would extend, do the same exact thing. I would extend the width of your form. So just kind of bring it over. And you have to like grab each field, basically. Click, 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 click. So much fun. I know. Sometimes I'm like, oh, it's not that bad. Then I'm like, oh, this is the most annoying thing on the face of the planet. All right.
Yeah,
so
we're probably the worst as far as interactive. You know, like it's like it should work faster.
Yes, everything worked faster. I have zero patience. I used to have so much patience, not anymore. All right, so this kind of keeps things. Oh, hold on. Let's fix this text box right here. Which degree are you interested in learning about? Let's expand that one, because even though the breakpoint hadn't hit that field, watch, I'll show you. Even though the breakpoint is nowhere near right here, it's still collapsing that text box. See?
Oh.
As we close it. That's what happens. It's just, that's what the code is. Let me zoom in a little. Some of the people. And see. Oh, do we have to, oh, there we go. All right. Go to that scribble bar. So we're watching right here. So even though it's nowhere near that text box, see, it's all collapsing on itself. That's because of the coding, which is set to resize responsive width. And it should respond, but you want to start it way out here. That'll take care of that. Watch, now it's not going to collapse upon itself. It's going to make it all the way to the breakpoint. There we go. And then I would do the same thing in the 760 breakpoint. Expand your form width-wise and expand your content in here. This is a good width for this one. See if it makes it to 360. It's going to get a little squished at 360, but that was bound to happen. And then I like moving the image at the 360 breakpoint. You might even want to do it at the 7, and this should have been 768. So good job. So that takes care of that. And then when it comes to pinning, you want this to stay in the center. So I would pin this to the center to make sure it stays in the center in each of your breakpoints. Pin it right in the center. Same with your form. So you want to make sure you're pinning those objects. And make sure you're pinning even like your navigation, your logo on the master page. All right, so that is the first one. At least there's like 10 of you guys, so so that's good, because sometimes when I have classes of 30, I feel like I can't get to everybody, or everybody's critique is like 4 seconds long, and I'm like, looks great, moving on. So with 10 of us, it's you know, way easier. All right, number 2. So we've got the slideshow that plays when you log in or enter the site. This is the home page. Then for the degrees page, we have associates, whoops, and the form ended up inside of the associates tab, but it defaults to bachelor. So you got to watch out for stuff like that. That happens when things overlap in Muse, so I'll show you how to fix that. But you definitely want to watch out for that. I like the color scheme. Everything matches the Independence logo really well. And I think there's some good font choices here on both pages. And nice image at the top too. Some of these images look really low res in the slideshow. So you're gonna wanna make sure that you are selecting high res images. See how pixelated they are? You don't want to give that first impression on your homepage of low res images. We've got some, these two don't work. So links are, you wanna make sure if you're gonna have the logos that they link. I would say have one like button. The share button goes with Facebook too. I would probably use the widgets down here and get rid of the logos, because as you can see, this is not the brand asset from the Twitter site. So you want to make sure you're using the correct ones. And Jenny, what are your thoughts?
Okay, my kids stopped yelling at each other. I think it's a nice job as far as, you know, the way it was designed. I'm seeing what I think is full screen, but the top image doesn't expand for the whole browser. Is
right.
that, am I seeing that correctly?
Yeah, and that's a little bit difficult to do in Muse. I'm not gonna lie. Unless if you have an image that you have found that is like, I've showed this before. So my Mac is, where is it? 2880 pixels wide is my display. So I would have to find an image that's at least 2880, and those are some pretty big images.
Right.
So it might be difficult to find one that is going to expand to the browser width and not get pixelated is the problem. Like, I can kind of show you on this, on the site itself. Like if I select in her site, resize, it doesn't even give the stretch to browser width anymore. It used to give you that for an option. But you can, so it's set at 960. I think that's okay because you don't want it to get pixelated. So I'm wondering why it won't even let you resize it, resize the width. That's kind of weird. So you would definitely want to, going back to this, you definitely want to pin this. So let's see what happens when we start to close up the browser when it hits those breakpoints, and we can kind of make a determination from there. Oh, we have a double logo. So make sure you're deleting that extra logo. I bet you it was copied from a breakpoint, one of them. All right, let's see. Which one is it? Just might be an extra, so let's delete that. See what happens. Make sure it's still there. That's what I was doing last week, if you remember. All right. It's not gonna, this is the actual URL. All right, so here we hit. The mobile menu is a little bit further down than the original menu was, so I would probably drop a guide. Whoops. or drop a ruler. And when I get to that breakpoint, move my mobile menu, you know, where that rule is, just so that way visually things kind of stay in the same place. Just a thought. Let's check the menu. All right, so this is what I was talking about. If you were having this happen with your mobile menu, it would not go where it needs to go. All right, I'm going to show you how to fix this. I knew I would run into it with somebody. All right, so everything is on layer 1. I want you to make a layer called, and call it mobile menu, just so you know what you're putting there. And we're going to select Command X out of layer 1 and then lock the layer and then do a paste in place on this layer. Do the same thing here. Command X. Whoops. What am I deleting? Oh, it might have been in here twice. Oh, it is in here twice. All right. And X. There we go. Lock layer 1. Paste in place. Okay, that's fine. Wait, no. And X. I'm not. I'm trying to put it on this layer. Come on. There we go. All right. So weird when things like that happen. There we go. All right. So this should take care of that. I'm going to preview the site in a browser and double check that it works. So this will help you if your mobile menu was going behind your items. Like I said, in the earlier versions of Muse, there were way more options, and the options actually seemed to work for this third-party widget. There we go. And now they just don't, because the newer versions of Muse really don't like third-party widgets, honestly. All right, so see, this is starting to run into here in between these two. So this is also where pinning needs to come in. So you want this to stay over here. You need to pin this menu, close, to the right. So you need to select it and pin that to the right, which it says it is, but it's definitely... All right, let's look at the logo then. Pin the logo to the left. And I'm going to set the resize on this to none. Let's double check this.
I have a question about
Yep.
the pinning.
Sure.
In my toolbar at the top, I have to click transform or something or whatever it says to get to the pin. Like yours shows differently than mine does. Is there a reason?
Oh, that's weird. What version of Muse are you in?
I thought I was in the current one, but
Yeah.
It
should be under About. I'm in 2017.1.
Let's see what mine says. Oh, no, mine's 2017.0.
Interesting.
Maybe that's why. So yeah, okay. Because
that's still weird though, because in 2015 it showed just like this. If you have to go to transform?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So I was like, where's my pin? She's talking about pin and I'm not seeing it.
All right, that's definitely weird. Are you on a Mac or a PC?
I'm on a Mac.
Okay, me too.
I see. Okay, now I'm trying to tell you that, and now I see it, maybe because the item is pinned. Okay, so if it's not already pinned, it doesn't show up. It shows it's effects, then hyperlinks, then transform, align, then text. and I always have to click transform to see my pin.
I'm trying to see if I can get like maybe like something was selected deeper in the menu. I'm trying to see if transform pin.
I had a hard time finding fill to browser also when I was doing the background.
Oh, under really?
So anyway, so I found it eventually, but
yeah, you have to kind of select, like kind of like click off, and then browser fill will show up. All right, so for this, yeah, that's weird. All right, so for this one, I can see now why the mobile menu is down here, because it was starting to run into this. All right, what I would do is I would probably for this one as well, maybe set the resize on this top image to none, and it won't get so small, but you can keep it pinned. That works until you get to the 360. And let's see. I'm going to copy this and hide it in other breakpoints. Oh, it's not in other breakpoints. All right, that's bizarre. All right, so this file's acting a little bit weird on me. All right, so that might take care of some of those issues. Why is it weird? It's never going to go below 360. All right. There we go. All right. There we go. Happy, happy, happy. All right, so that'll fix that. For this one, I think the home page was pretty good. Let me just double check. Yeah, see, these look low res in here too. So you're definitely going to want to put in new images here. All right. But all in all, I think this was a really good layout and a good site. I would also get rid of the YouTube and the Twitter down at the bottom. All right, don't save. All right, so I was able to kind of kill two birds with one stone with that one to show you guys how to do that mobile menu. All right, we're on number 3. Okay, so for this one, there was actually one extra page that didn't need to be here. You just need the 2 pages, so that's why there's 3 links here. So we have, when you get to the home page, it automatically starts the slideshow for you, and you can still advance yourself, and I think you can make it, oh, whoops. That was weird. It automatically thought it was Vampire Diaries. Yeah. That's weird. She's a vampire, apparently, who's going to school for graphic design. So yeah, that was a little bit weird. All right, I think that this area should be a little bit bigger, and I think that I like the idea of the tiled Independence University logo, but I think it needs to be scaled back to like maybe 20 or 30%. It's just a little bit overpowering in the background, and you know, it's hard to read the text with that right there. Let's check out the degrees page. All right, so we have associate's degree and bachelor's degree. I like the nice big image. I also like the font choice. And then the form was on the contact page here. And so I'm going to say, oh, I forgot to fill out the other form from the last website. I want bachelor's degree, doing our critique, and wanted to say hello. I'll have to send an email from the other form. And the form was received, but it didn't send me back to the home page. So that it's supposed to send me back to the home page when it's done. But it did tell me that the form was received. All right. So some thoughts on that one. And while you tell me your thoughts, I'm going to just send a little message from the other one. So everybody gets a message. The critique. There we go. And brought me back to the home page. Perfect. All right, so Did you want to talk about this one?
I had the same comments that you had already mentioned.
Oh, okay. So let's take a look at the file then. Number 3, yes. All right, and one of the things you might have noticed, well, maybe you didn't notice, the text is coming through on my end as an image, and that could be that the fonts are missing. So I'm gonna double check that in Muse. Sometimes that happens. And you gotta make sure that you're using those web safe fonts. So Europa Bold is a system font. So you wanna make sure that you are picking a font from Typekit and using that, or else your text will come through as an image. And what that means is that's not good for your SEO, because Google can't read what you have written in your text if it's showing up as an image to pull your site up in a search. So you definitely want to make sure that you're using some web safe images. Web safe fonts. Wow, it's a Monday. All right. I didn't even look to see how it responds. Let's see how this page responds. So I can see that the navigation's getting a little bit tight here. Really close, and running outside of the boxes before I've hit the mobile version. And then this is getting really small. So I need to definitely address that. Let's take a look at that page. Probably be easier to just take a look at this page. So again, you might want to use the mobile menu in your 768 breakpoint, or you can pin these to the right and set the response to none. That should take care of that. Let's double check that. Preview site in browser. And you can see I got all those texts. Oh, I guess it didn't matter what page I was on. All right, so now this is moving. It's not, it's still squeezing smaller. Oh, it did make it though. It didn't run outside the box, so it got a little bit smaller around here, but it doesn't run outside the box. So that's good. All right, so if you want to keep the original, that kind of works. Or what you can do is you can expand your menu. Like this, pin your logo to the left. Probably want to resize that. Let's see what happens. Oh, it just squeezes right under it. That works. All right, there we go. Woo! It's like, so
I meant to do that.
Hey, sometimes, little happy accident, as they say. Bob Ross used to say. All right, so to fix the panels, what you might want to do is expand this panel, like I was showing on the other example. So this isn't set up with a grid, so I'm going to have to eyeball this, but you can fix that. I would do File, Site Properties. Here we go. And add in like probably 12 columns. That gives you a good little grid in here that you can follow. There we go. And make your text area bigger. And you don't need to necessarily make your image bigger. You can center it. Close that up a bit. And I would pin that to the center and do responsive width. And let's try that. Let's double check that. Preview site in browser. All right, let's see how this responds now. All right, that's a little bit easier to read. Although you'll see the text isn't responding correctly because it's placed it as an image, so it's not reflowing in the box. So it's a little bit difficult to see how the text will respond. I'd have to change the font, but just keep an eye on that. And then the contact form, don't forget to send your user back to the home page. So you want to select your form, go to this little bar, and after sending, go to the home page. That'll fix that. All right, let's close this one out. So we're probably gonna take care of like a couple of issues with each site that might have been running awry. All right, so we have this one. I like this. I think this is fun. I would probably, I understand the lorem ipsum there because you didn't have any ad copy, but I would probably change it to something else. You know, just putting in, I don't even like this paragraph and maybe this paragraph over here other than the lorem ipsum. The rollover gets really light. I mean, you can definitely tell it's a rollover, but I'm not 100% sold on that, and I don't know what happened to the Independence University logo right here. Something weird happened with that logo. So just double check. If you need a white version of the logo, it looks like it was possibly made white in Photoshop. I do somewhere have a illustrated version you can ask me for, but this is fine for this. Let's check the degrees page. So I really like the use of the image in the background with the red of Independence overlaid over it, and then the blue overlay. I think like that's such a good use of a creative use of using the school colors. So I really like how that looks. And then we have two separate panels. I like this too. So the graphic arts, you can see, read about it, potential careers, skills learned, by clicking the different tabs, and then they close up.
Nice.
And then, so this is pretty cool. So very interactive, like you have fun interacting with it. And then we have the contact form down here. So send my little email. And we'll see where I am sent to, and I'm back at the home page. So let's see how this site responds. So far, so good with the images. Just gonna scroll down. Oh, this is starting to, all right, you are going to run into this. You'll notice this is starting to run out of that white box. The reason why is, it's awful. No, the reason why is Muse is kind of stupid that way. Like, there's no other way to say it sometimes. But when you are in Dreamweaver, you can code this box to be height 100%. So 100, the height will always be the height I need it to be. But in Muse, it doesn't move. It doesn't do that. All it does is respond by width. It doesn't respond by height to understand like, oh, this text goes with that. So we're gonna have to get a little bit creative to make that work. Oh, I like that it goes down to the 2 columns. Just make sure these are a little bit off so you have things lined up. So that's starting to do that. I'm not sure why. We'll take a look at that. And let's see what the degrees page does. And we'll need to take a look at you'll notice the text is not responding. Sometimes the text boxes don't. So you might need to create this as a graphic if you can't get it to work correctly. And then this image is coming down too. So we need to, this is where that pinning will come into play. As you'll notice, the image is all the way down here by the time we get down here. So we got to take a look at that. All right, so let's open up this file. And did you want to give your thoughts? I'm sorry, I was like zooming right through.
Oh, no, that's okay. No, I thought it had a lot of really cool, unique elements that weren't just your standard.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I think the biggest draw of this layout is definitely the color.
Right.
It's so like kind of in your face, but in a good way, you know? I mean, it's not like it's like, whoa, that's like really crazy. You know, I mean, it can be crazy to overlay that type of red over an image, you know, and it really, really works here. So I think that this was, you know, some great bold color choices that were made. So I'm really definitely like this, the whole header area and the whole homepage with the rotating slideshows that are going on, I'm really a fan of. So let's just take a look and see kind of what's happening with these breakpoints. So you'll notice, because there's two different images, that the images are placed in the pages rather than the masters. And I'm wondering if that's why it's doing what it's doing. Let's take a look. All right. So this image we have set to resize, stretch to the browser width. And you'll notice it lets you do that in a page. It doesn't let you do it in the master.
Oh, I was wondering.
You know, I was like, I feel like there's something not right about this. All right, so that works. So what we need to do is we need to pin this to the top center and see if that does it. We might have to troubleshoot this a little bit. So let's preview just this page in the browser and see if that does it. Because it was really moving down. All right. All right, so that keeps that up there. Oh, but it's still moving. Why are you moving? All right. Why is this bounding box so big? Are these grouped? That might be it. Nope, they're not grouped.
Remember that Facebook widget like button that we did? It had a huge bounding box for some odd reason.
Yeah, this is an image, so it's really, oh, because it's placed, all right, here we go. It's placed above the top of my header. So that's throwing it off a bit. That's what it is. Here we go. All right. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to manually crop this in. Oh, I hate using, oh, jeez. I hate using the crop tool in here. What? All right, let's try it one more time, maybe. Crop that there. Crop it here. Let's see if that does it. All right, let's try it again. Preview the page in the browser. For some reason, like Muse won't let you just refresh the page that's already in the browser. It's such a pain. Like Dreamweaver will let you at least refresh the page without having to load it every single time. All right, let's see if that does it. No, why? Why would it? All right, this is where troubleshooting comes in. Let's see. It's only going to, here's the other thing too. It's only going to stretch to the browser width up to 100%. So let's change that to none. Pin that to the center and see if it stays where it needs to stay. All right. because it was already at 100% at 1200 pixels, the width of the image. So let's try that now. This is why pinning is never an exact science. You always have to sit there and troubleshoot 8 million things. All right, that worked. But it'll have to be done again when we get to 768. So you'll need to crop it at the 768 and just redo all of the steps that we just did and set this to none, pin it in the center, right here. All right. And the text, set to responsive width, but it's running out. What if we do, I don't know if none will work. Let's see. It's gonna move. But we definitely want it to respond. But the thing is all it does when you tell a text box to respond, all it does is make the text box smaller, not the text inside of it. So you gotta be really aware of what your font size is and adjust accordingly. So we can go down to 3 lines, but we're gonna need to make your future a smaller, we're gonna just have to make this font a little bit smaller to make this work and maybe float this in here in the middle. Let's see if that'll do it. Might have to, it's gonna look a little bit weird for a second. All right, that does it. There we go. And then again, do the same exact thing at the 360 breakpoint. Open that up. All right. And then what else was getting a little bit weird? Oh, one of the breakpoints, these panels. All right, so this rectangle and this rectangle were not staying where they needed to stay. So let's try grouping everything inside of it together and then grouping these rectangles together and then pinning them in the center. Let's see if that works. And we're going to do responsive width. Not so much. Ungroup. This needs to responsive width and height. All right, that should. All right. Click, 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 click. Let's try to pin this to the right and pin this to the left. Pin. All right, for some reason these aren't responding. All right. What time is it? Oh, 7:38. Delete that. All right, I'm gonna come back to this one. I might come back to this one tomorrow because I feel like this is something where it might just take like 20 or 30 minutes to basically figure this one out. Of trying different things. So we'll come back to this one tomorrow, just in the so we can move on and do hopefully one more. Right, close these out. All right, so I like this image in the background. I like the rollover going on. Design your future. Nice slideshow going on right here. Oh, good images. And I like the I will say this, I like the treatment of the social media icons down here. I know they're not exactly to spec, but I feel like they work with the site, so I would be okay with this. You know, something like this. And we'll go to degrees page. Check it out. We have associate's degrees. Bachelor's degrees. Oh, these don't match when they're closed. So you want to check out this one. It looks like it's still the default on when it's closed. We'll have to take a look at the file. I will send an email. Hello from the critique. I'm interested in a bachelor's program. Weird. Something went weird.
I thought I changed that.
We'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at the file.
Unfortunately, I'm actually getting ready in like 5 minutes. I'm getting ready to leave, so I might miss like the rest of it. But
oh, no problem, no problem. Yeah, if you want, you can watch the rest of the video. It'll just be the last 20 minutes. Yours is going to be the last one. So I'll just try to see if I can figure that out. What might have happened is you might have changed it in the file, but forgot to republish it after you did.
right.
So it might be correct when I go in here.
Okay.
Basically. All right, so let's take a look at it responding. All right, so these things they were nice and lined up, but they're kind of, this is where the pinning will help.
Okay. And I was like, what happened?
Yeah, that's where the pinning should help you. So let's
Okay.
take a look. The homepage. And oh, there was a random breakpoint right here.
Yeah, I got a little crazy with the breakpoints because I was having issues, and I was like, well, I'll just throw some more breakpoints in. And then I was like, oh, this is too nutty.
Yeah, so we're going to delete that one. We're going to just fix it based off of the ones that we have. So let's delete that one and we'll take a look. All right. So I'm going to expand, like I've done for everybody, this text box because it's starting to close up too quickly, basically.
Okay.
And I'm even going to expand this one a little bit. Not a ton, but just like a little bit, because that was even starting to close up too quickly. All right, and make sure everything is aligned. There we go. All right, so we have this set to responsive width, which is fine. How, you might be able to get away with not resizing this one. Let's see. See if it makes it. Or we might be able to fudge it. Let's fudge it. Let's put it back to the size it was. And then you won't have to set it to respond. It was right here. None. All right, let's see that. There we go. All right, so that takes care of that, the closing of that one. We're going to, that's pinned to the center, good. Pin to the center, good. Pin to the center, good. All right. So let's take a look at the 768 breakpoint because it kind of gets a little weird here. So I'm going to expand this and we'll see how far we can make it. This one, going to expand or not expand in this. No. There we go. All right. All right, so this is pinned to the bottom center, and I think that that might be doing it, possibly. Although it gets weird. Hold on. Oh, you know why? Some of our elements are overlapping. See how the text box right here, the bounding box, is overlapping this?
Yes.
That's what's causing that.
Oh, that causes issues. Okay.
Yes, yeah, you have to make sure your elements don't overlap.
Yeah, but it wasn't like, did you see the way when you were just trying to make the
No, that's weird.
text box smaller, it doesn't go smaller. I don't know why. Because I did try to do that a couple times. I wasn't understanding.
It's almost like there's two things going on here, and there's definitely shouldn't be. And then it gets, Let's see. Oh, so weird. Muse has some weird quirks about it sometimes that I'm just like, why? Why are you doing this?
Like I said, so easy and yet not.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And it's not just you guys. I always say that. Like, it's not just you. The same things happen to me. All right, so this does not allow us to get smaller, I don't think. Slideshows are so weird like that. Like sometimes they just run off the page and there's like really not much you can do about it. It's not that bad though. Let me see. Let's try to pin this to the top center and see if that. Oh no, this is just getting too small is what it is. I would look at what's going on your master between your breakpoints. I would possibly set these items, if you can, to not resize these 3 items and see if it'll make it to the breakpoint. Because see how it's giving you all this kind of weird space until you hit the breakpoint? It's doing that for all of them.
Right.
And then this is running into this again. Oh, we need to give some room.
I think that's why I was thinking, well, I need to add another breakpoint there because it's scooched up too much. Oh, you found my rectangle.
I found your rectangle.
Oh! It's invisible. You can't see it.
Yeah. I have X-ray eyes. That kind of worked a little. Yeah. Oh, right there. No. Yeah, right there. All right, so I think if we could ever get a slideshow to correctly resize, which we never can, what if we pin it to the top center? I know that seems weird. Oh.
It did, but look what it did.
Oh, it still did it. Hold on. Here's my next thought. I'm going to group these 2 items. Sometimes that works as well. Because then they move together. And that's getting a little bit strange, but it bounces it down. That might be your best option.
Okay.
Let's see. Grouping them together. Let me ungroup them for a second. I have this pinned. I'm just going to pin this to the center and just pin this to the center. Apparently this one doesn't want to allow me to pin this to the top center. All right. So let's group these 2 together after we did that. Let's see. I think we might have. Now these are running into each other. All right, let's group. Move this down.
I'm so sorry, but I actually have to go pick up my daughter.
Oh, nope, you're good. I'm just gonna figure this out for you for like another 2 minutes, and then I think you should be good. So you can come back in and double check it. Here's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna put this on 2 lines to begin with in this breakpoint, because we know we needed 2 lines. And then I think that'll probably fix it, and I think you'll be good. All right, thanks for being able to come in.
Thank you. Have a
All
good
right,
night.
bye. Okay, so for everybody else who's still watching, let's see if that fixed it. Sometimes you have to like let go. All right, I think that we might be good. All right, so that fixed it. So what I did was I pinned this element and this element in the center. I grouped them together. This I moved to 2 lines because I know it's going to eventually need to be on 2 lines, so I might as well just do it in this breakpoint so I can make the room, and it doesn't look like, if I didn't do that and I needed the room, it would look like this. So I might as well set it up the way it should look best right off the bat. So that takes care of that, and then we can just take a quick look in the master and see how things are resizing and try to see if we can fix those real quick. So I would set this to be pinned in the center, not resize. This is your image. Navigation, you can see where it's pinned. I can see where this is pinned. Ungroup this. There we go. All right. So I'm going to set this to none. The logo, I'm going to set this to none. I'm going to pin my menu to the right. I'm going to pin my logo to the left. And I'm going to keep that pinned on the center. Let's see what happens. Oh, we might just not make it. All right, let's try again. Let's see about resizing this to be a responsive width, but not the logo. Will she make it? Oh, I did. And we made it. All right. So the navigation will do a responsive, we'll set to responsive width. Logo will set to none. Image will set to none. Let's go to this one. We'll set this to be responsive width, and we're going to pin it to the right. Our logo, we're going to pin to the left, and we're not going to resize. And the image, we're going to pin to the center and also not resize. And let's see if it works here. I don't think we have enough room. So I think that this might be an instance where you want to use the mobile breakpoint right in the 768 breakpoint as well as the 360. I think that that'll take care of that. And then I think you should be good. All right, so let's close out of this. All right, so there are three URLs that I have, and I have 4 files that I still need to go through. So we will go over those ones tomorrow for everybody. But if you saw your file and you can now see how that needs to be fixed, please feel free to fix it, and you can kind of use this information going into this week's assignment. You know, don't reinvent the wheel this week. I would say, you know, find out what's been working for you in weeks 1 and week 2 and bring that into your portfolio that you're creating this week. And remember, your mock-up needs to match your Muse file. So don't go so crazy with your mock-up that you don't know how to build it in Muse. I will be available via email, and hopefully some of you will be able to make it tomorrow as well. All right, have a great night, everyone, and I will see you tomorrow evening.